You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
All right.
Hello, hello.
Just retweeting the live feed.
You're not last minute at all. How's it going?
It's pretty cool. People watch it on Twitter too.
Yeah, that's how this program works. You can stream it on Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube.
Yeah, it's like significant. I mean, right now it's only showing one person watching it on Twitter, but I think we get like
hello, that one person. How's it going?
100 people, or that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Technology.
Ooh,
good morning.
Cheerios. Good morning.
Well, it's Christmas.
As you can tell,
month here in Monerotopia.
Jingle bells.
This is a real tree, by the way.
Yes.
Can they see? This is Sunita's favorite ornament.
Guys, I have a confession to make. I love potato chips.
Yeah,
really?
Let's show them.
That one.
Let's get that up in there.
It's a cute little potato chip.
It is cute. Where'd you get this?
Michael's. Well, we all got an ornament. The three of us.
Yeah, wait, what did I get?
You got it's on the other side. It's an RV with a very tropical Santa with glasses, hat, shorts.
Oh, that's cool.
Hanging out with a flamingo.
Yeah. No, now I remember. And then,
then little Frania has a little sushi.
Oh, sushi, right. She wanted sushi.
She loves sushi.
7 years old and she loves sushi. It's her favorite.
Obsessed with sushi. So
I don't know how that happened.
Very fun ornaments.
Yeah, we need some Monero ornaments.
Yeah.
Is anybody doing that? Let us know, guys.
Maybe.
Anybody selling Monero ornaments for Monero? You got a customer right here. I'm down. Oh, speaking of things.
Oh, yes.
Monero related swag or items.
Guys, it's really cool, actually. Coin Power. What was it? I guess Mano Crypto.
Mano.
Yeah, Mano.
Mano Crypto. Who was like our most watched show. Like people loved the Mano Crypto interview.
Yeah. People really liked it. Really excited about it.
I mean, it was a great talk. He's a super cool guy. If you haven't seen it yet, which I assume most of you already have, check it out.
Yeah.
But
he sent
he makes these watches.
It's really cool.
I think he says it's the only Monero watch, the only one that I know of.
How cool. It's really I like the box. And then here is how it comes.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Like he has the Monero symbol on the outside of the box there. Oh wait.
Whoops.
This I don't even know. Scan this QR code to claim your smart contract. I will have to check that out. I don't even know what that's
cool
about.
Watch, actually.
But the watch itself is pretty cool.
It's really cool. It's really pretty. Thank you, Coin Powers. Thank you, Mano Crypto.
Yes, I don't know if is it coinpower.com? Guys, Google Coin Power. And you will find, I don't know if you want to try to bring it up. I'm not a big watch. I never wear a watch, but now I will. Definitely wear it when I like dress up. I'll wear it when I dress up.
Coin Power.
It's very cool.
Coin Power.
Straight up Monero.
Watches.
Oh, and then it has on the inside of the watch.
This is it, I guess. Coin. Let me see. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, did you see the inside? He has etched in there Monero because privacy matters.
There you go.
And actually the back is really
this is it. Yeah, this is it, guys.
You can see that, probably not.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mano. People check that out.
It's really cool.
If you're into
These
watches.
are the pictures. Yeah, this is the box. Those are really cute. The back is really cool.
You know, it's not as nice as Fluffy Pony's $800,000. Actually, it is. That watch wasn't particularly nice. I don't know. I don't know about watches, but it wasn't like. I think that thing was orange too. I just remember being like, "Wait, what? Why was that thing $800,000?"
It's really nice. So yeah, it's coinpower.nl. So
I'm gonna move this down.
Check
here.
it out. Yeah. Hey, the pen. So that's cool. Really excited about that.
Yes, definitely excited about that.
Very cool. Very cool. And yeah, I guess any updates on Monerotopia?
What's that?
What is that thing?
Updates. I'm gonna want to bring up the website.
Yep, doing that now.
So updates for this week. Well, I guess we can announce. We didn't put them up there yet, but Moneroujo team will be giving a talk. I don't know who exactly from the team, but Andres reached out to us. I don't know if all of them will be there, but a few of them. So they're going to be giving a talk. We'll be adding that to the website. So that's cool. Yeah. Very cool.
So if you haven't gotten your tickets today, get them now. April 7th in Miami Beach, Florida. Curated by day, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Uncensored by night, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m.
No uncensored people reached out to us yet.
I mean, I think it's kind of still early.
Yeah, it's
people
definitely
tend to be just last minute.
I think we were really on the ball with this one. We started early.
Yeah, you started really early. Hope that's a good thing.
I see MoneroCon is trying. They're trying to plan. I shouldn't say there because obviously we'd like to help as well, but we're obviously focused on this Monerotopia. But I see some progress being made there. So it looks like a MoneroCon will happen this year. Fingers crossed.
This year? You mean next year?
Well, next year, whatever. This season.
We're still in December. Don't fast forward.
And they were originally aiming for June, the end of June. I think they're meeting on it today, actually. There's a meeting about it today. We should know the time. I don't know the time. I think it's soon. It's like it might be right after this show, actually. They're going to meet, talk about it. They're still trying to figure out, I think, exactly where it's going to be. Portugal seems like the top choice right now. End of June seems like the date. I'm requesting that they don't do it end of June because that's when PorcFest is.
Yeah.
And we are going to PorcFest, guys. It was awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
It's not a Monero conference. It's just it's a festival. I mean, we talk about it on the show all the time now, right? But it's a festival, people hanging out in New Hampshire. All of them are like liberty loving people, family friendly, people camping. You show up in you bring your RV, you can camp there, you can stay in the motel, which is what we did.
Yeah.
There's a motel on site. And it's just thousands of people just hanging out. It's like a free for all. And you show up, sell whatever you want. We sold coffee, but you could sell anything. And I mean anything. And you can buy anything for Monero. We lived off Monero. All our food we purchased with Monero. And then there's people giving talks. There's organized talks on the main stage, and they're all like liberty focused things. And then there's also like mini talks, like people just start setting up little, at their campsites, they have like little stages and they'll be doing little talks there. So we wanted to like organize a group of Monero people and just have a section where we all hang out. And others at PorcFest can come and hang out.
Cool. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
And there's lots of Monero people already there, which is awesome. And then plus you're just meeting a lot of people that maybe aren't totally into Monero yet. So it's just awesome. It's a lot
of fun. So it really was a lot of fun.
We don't want to miss that. And we want to start organizing. We'll be talking about it more and more on the show because we want to actually organize and get people to come. Which leads into the Telegram thing, right?
Yeah. So we've created a Telegram group for Monerotopia. Literally, it's hold on. It's literally Monerotopia on Telegram, and then we're also on Matrix, so people can chat via Matrix and Telegram. So I'll put the links in the chat, and also they will be in the descriptions for those that are listening to the podcast.
And we have somebody helping us.
Yeah, we have
manage the
someone
room.
helping. Yep. So we're
We'll
excited
be in
about
there
it.
talking it up. We'll, obviously, you just everybody that watches the show, please join the Telegram group. We'll be, I don't know,
Chatting it away, or maybe
talking about Monero.
Oh,
No,
what
but
a
I want to
surprise.
use it as a way to coordinate things. So people
Yeah.
that want to go to PorcFest, people that are going to Monerotopia, we can talk. So if people want to coordinate to meet up or whatever, I think it'll be useful.
Yeah, it will be very
Definitely
useful.
for the PorcFest thing, will be useful.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there's some coordination involved. We need to figure out how many campsites we want to reserve for everybody that's going to be down there. I want to try to find the people that we met. Remember, we met a decent amount of Monero people there, but we didn't really get their
we didn't get their contact.
One or two that we interviewed.
Yeah, we interviewed a few.
Remember the man in white? What was his?
I forgot his name.
Yeah, we have to look back at our old videos.
The man in white. Yeah. We couldn't record his face.
And then we had the other guy who was he was a gratuitous customer, where he had the gun, the holster, and while he was talking to us.
Yeah.
Monero fan. He goes to PorcFest all the time. And,
yeah, we have a playlist on our Monero Talk channel if you want to check out those interviews.
But we got to coordinate with those people and let them know.
Yeah,
we're trying to bring a Monero. Pirate Chain was there. Remember?
Oh yeah, they had a huge.
They had their own they invaded PorcFest, which is another reason why we got to go. Nothing against Pirate Chain, but come on, we need a Monero presence.
It's pretty hilarious.
And I don't want to miscarry. It's not like a crypto conference by any means, but Pirate Chain happened to just kind of turn it into that. They had a big setup there.
Yeah.
Most people are just there doing their own thing, not really crypto related, just happen to be into crypto and use crypto. So wait, back to Monerotopia event. So we have Moneroujo team, which we're announcing that now. They'll be one of our speakers.
Oh, we have Andres and the team.
Yeah, Andres and the team. And then this week I interviewed Sri Aravinda.
Yeah, Sri Aravinda Krishna. It's
a difficult name.
Yes. Sri.
He's awesome.
Sri. He's really nice.
I had met him at Monero Con in Denver. He's, super intelligent guy, cryptographer, working on ideas for essentially layer 2 on Monero, like Lightning Network on Monero. Layer 2 ideas in general, kind of improving the concept of Lightning Network, and the improvements he's making or proposing would basically create something that would be usable for Monero. So really cool stuff, because obviously that's something we always talk about here in Monero land, how eventually we're going to need our own kind of version of Lightning Network. Monero obviously scales very well on the base layer, but ultimately we're going to need a layer 2 as well. So it was a great conversation, and I think he might be a speaker as well. He was very enthusiastic about that.
Yeah, we have an interview that we're working on.
We haven't closed the deal on that one, so but I'm hoping. There were some other names we had. I don't know did we bring up, we were trying to get Mitchell, but it looks like he's not going to be able to do it. Who else? Trevador. We were trying to get him. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. So we're slowly reaching out to the big names in the space, the devs, the people that are doing the hard work, and we're trying. You
were trying to get Phil Zimmermann.
Oh, Phillip Zimmermann. So he's not a Monero dev, but anybody that has done a little research into the roots of cryptocurrency probably has come across Phillip Zimmermann. He was the guy that invented PGP, pretty good privacy, which I don't know if people follow that story, but I don't know. Was it in the 90s? I think it was the late or early 90s. When that technology was basically for a time considered a munition by the U.S. government, and they tried to make it illegal for regular citizens to essentially use it. And there was a Supreme Court case, and it was found that essentially it's not illegal using encryption isn't a munition. So pretty big deal. Paved the way for cryptocurrency in terms of technology and in terms of the legal framework, which wherein we look at these things. And it's kind of like the arguments that are going to be made if it ever comes down to that, where they potentially maybe try to ban Monero. If it ever came down to that, which I doubt, but same arguments would be made as to why you legally wouldn't be able to ban Monero here in the United States. So this guy is, he's like one of the founding fathers. Super cool guy.
And
he called me up. I sent him an email, and he got right back to me. Now he gets paid for these speaker spots. I was Googling him. He's been at 1 or 2 crypto conferences in the past. There was a YouTube video of him at one 3 years ago. It's interesting. You guys could watch that. I thought it'd been cool to have him at the conference. It's gonna cost a pretty penny to get him there. We're in talks with them, trying to negotiate. If it's somewhat decent, maybe we'll try to do it. We had a great conversation. I spoke to him, and then he called me back. I spoke to him again. It's interesting because this guy has been around forever. Like I said, one of the founding fathers of cryptography as we know it, and yet he's not. Obviously he knows about crypto. He knows about Bitcoin, but it wasn't like he was super knowledgeable on Monero per se. But he's very interested in Monero. He thinks we do need something like Monero that's more akin to digital cash. He sees the flaws in Bitcoin, and he characterized it basically as the fact that it's built on a transparent ledger. And he's one of these guys that believes that he has kind of these cypherpunk ideals, thinking that we need something more akin to digital cash, that's fungible, that's can't be tracked and traced. So it was interesting getting his perspective. And at the same time, he also had his concerns, that technology like this could be used for nefarious things, which I found interesting, right? Because here's the guy who invented PGP, and he said, I know it's contradictory to say that, because even PGP itself obviously could be used for good and bad, and he was always aware of that, and he would always he always realized that, and would just make fundamental arguments as to why we should be okay with that as a society, that we should be okay with a technology like this that could be used for good and bad. So he has a very interesting perspective, because he's up here from day one, has been looking at this stuff. He also claims to or thinks I don't know, should I say? Thinks he might know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, but he didn't tell me who. But he said he might in fact know who he was. Not not that means anything, but it wouldn't be surprising. He was from that small network of people that were working on these technologies. So would be super cool to have him. We'll continue to talk with him and see if we could get him over here. He's in Europe. It's another reason why it would be kind of expensive to get him to come, but he's pretty much down if we're willing to pay the fee. Oh, and he's also open to taking a portion of it in Monero, which is super cool. And I was talking about, he's going to download Cake Wallet. I'm going to send him a little bit of Monero just to get him using it. So he's down. He's very interested. So it's cool stuff, guys. Anything else for Monerotopia other than potentially getting Phil Zimmermann?
Just check out the website.
Oh, buy tickets, guys.
Yeah, buy tickets, and again, special thanks to our sponsors.
Cake Wallet, Coin Cards. Anybody else that wants to sponsor, please reach out. We haven't really tried to court any sponsors yet. These are people that reached out to us, but we're gonna need more, especially if we're gonna try to get Phil Zimmermann.
Yeah.
So I told him the price of the tickets. He was like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "You guys probably won't be able to afford me." But maybe we will. If we get some sponsors, we could do it. I mean, we're not looking. We just want to not lose money, and I think we're going to, no matter what.
Yeah. Because you want to make it as awesome as possible.
But that's, we got to make this good.
We will.
Yeah.
It's like you got to look at it as like our Monero after parties. They've always been awesome.
They've always been really good. Knock on wood.
I know.
So yeah, we'll try to get more sponsors, because then I'll make things like Phil Zimmermann more possible. Because that's the other thing too. We're even with our other speakers, we're not giving them a lot of money, but we're going to be giving them some money to help pay for their travel and stay. What else we got to say about the event?
I think that's really it for now.
I guess ticket prices might go up soon, guys. We didn't pick a day, or like, I don't know if we're going to do it based on the amount that are sold as early bird or just a date, but at some point we're just going to raise it. So
get your tickets today.
Get your tickets now. They're super cheap. And it's going to eventually go up to whatever it is, $100. And then I think
$100. Yeah, they're going to go up to, $100, 99. So yeah, get your tickets today. Again, special thanks to our amazing sponsors, Cake Wallet and Coin Cards. And
Miami. We're going down to Miami.
Yeah, that's another thing. Oh my God, so many things.
The conference.
We're going to the North American Bitcoin. Well, we're considering it. I don't know if we're going yet, but the North American Bitcoin Conference in Miami.
Which is like next month.
Yeah, it's next month. It's the weekend, I believe, of like the 15th. It's like that Monday. For 3 days. Yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Trying to go down there as media, do our thing, get in the door, interview a bunch of Bitcoin maxis. But we're being told it's kind of, it's not like some Bitcoin extremist conference. It's more of a little bit more open-minded, so that we'd be welcome there. So that would be cool. We're trying to do that, especially if we could get the press pass, and we'll go down there and we'll do some good interviews and we'll talk up Monero. And we'll go check out the venue in person, which we're reserving for Monerotopia. It would be good, so we could like actually meet, make sure that's all.
Yeah, just make
sure it's real.
Yeah, it actually exists.
Anything else we want to bring up on during our
other than that? I mean, we had our recent chit chat, our recent interview, Joel Valenzuela.
Oh yeah.
For those that haven't checked it out, because I think we published it like a couple of days ago. So check that interview out.
That was good. He's a big PorcFest guy also. He lives in New Hampshire. This guy's been living off crypto. Like, that's his claim to fame. He's been living off crypto since like 2015 or something, or maybe 2016. I don't know. But he's an old school crypto guy, and he's like one of the first to really try to start completely living off of it. He's a big Dash guy. At PorcFest, Dash is one of like the big coins there. It was like Bitcoin Cash, Dash, Monero. But yeah, he likes Monero as well. So it was cool talking to him, and we had a very civilized conversation. And he reached out to me. He's going to, I think, try to put together a video of how to live off of Monero, like tools to use for that. He was asking me if he thinks there's a need for that. If people would like want to see a video for that. So yeah, 100%. So that's cool. So even Dash people like Monero.
You're getting everyone to cross over.
Everyone, guys.
Everyone. So yeah, I guess let's move on. If there's nothing else to chit chat about, we're moving on to our price report segment. Woohoo! The Monerotopia price report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer.
Hey, Fungible.
Hey, how's it going? Oh, he's muted. Hey, Fungible. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. How are you?
Yes. Yeah, I'm good. Always takes like a couple of seconds because I have like 2 buttons to unmute.
No worries.
Okay, great. You can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your screen now.
All right. So
Good morning. Good morning. I feel like since starting the price report, the price has only been going down in crypto. We've
well, just
had a
like Monero
horrible.
with me,
What's that?
just like Monero, you gotta have patience with
Oh
me.
yeah. We're tried and tested around here. We're not even phased.
Yeah, it's just a testing phase, right? So, great. So shall I get started then?
Yes.
Yeah,
So
jump on it.
great. So like before, I'm just going to speak about the market sentiment, what's going on this week, some support and resistances on the technical charts for Monero and the network fundamentals. But I'm going to add a few more things this time. So I'm going to start with Bitcoin because that's what is driving the market at this moment in time. So I'm going to just go through because that's what kind of dictates the market sentiment to begin with. So let me just go through the Bitcoin chart against the US dollar. This is the daily chart of Bitcoin. And right now, we are still struggling to break the 51,000, 52,000 resistance. However, at the same time, we see on the RSI, we are on a bit on the oversold side, which is a good thing because it's kind of creating a buy opportunity. From my analysis, it's basically accumulation zone that is happening. But of course, the lower zone is going to be 40,000, which was the previous support, which we should not break that. That's the main concern. But from what I see right now, there is a lot of accumulation that is happening at these levels of 47, 48, and also RSI being on the oversold side. On a weekly basis, I mean, this is still the same thing. However, the RSI is a neutral zone right now. That is to say, there still could be some blood on the streets, but I think it's a lot of accumulation is happening as we speak. Let's come to the XMR chart. What's going on a daily time frame? You see that this is on the ascending channel. We see that the Monero has broken the key resistance of $220. But at the same time, we see that the RSI is oversold. So we are kind of at this point of $200, going back and forth, back and forth. Nothing interesting is happening at the moment, but from what I see, it could be a good time for accumulation. However, I want to just point out this interesting part in the chart, which is let's say on the daily time frame, you see that there was these are all the resistances and support. So when a particular support breaks, it becomes automatically resistance. So 120 and 180 are support at the moment, whereas 220 and 300 resistance. So you would see what happened before is like we tried to break 300 couple of times. However, when it was rejected for the third time, it had to break down. So it broke down below, and now it's below this 220. What I see in the coming days or week is that we might try to test 180 support once more, and I expect it to bounce back, because if we don't bounce back, if we break this with high volumes, then we will be going down. However, I see from the RSI and other indicators that we have getting some kind of accumulation in this zone, and the best thing that could happen to Monero is going back and testing this $220 and then breaking out of it. So that could be the one of the best things to happen, that it basically breaks, goes on the upper side. So this is on the daily time frame. However, on the weekly time frame, we see that RSI is basically oversold. It is going down. So selling has kind of waned up. So we should gain some momentum to actually touch the 180 and then go back up. That's my fair guess. So let's see. Also on the Bollinger Band side, we see that we're on the lower channel. That means we are oversold. A lot of indications coming that we are oversold around 180. So it's a good time to accumulate, in my opinion. No financial advice, of course. So let's see what's going on in the market as we speak. So I think the whole market is kind of in the accumulation zone at this moment, and Monero is sticking up with its top 50, so which is pretty good. And let's see what's also happening on the. Oh yes, this is an interesting part. The crypto funding rate. So we see all the derivative exchanges, usually are on leverage when we are in a bullish momentum. But the good thing is that it's all basically being reset to 0%. That means that the deleveraging in the market has happened, and there are not like accumulation of long positions in the market. So basically, we are back into neutral. And that is also a good thing, because now the momentum can build up after some kind of accumulation. As far as the fear and greed is concerned, it's a good news that we are in extreme fear. And you would see that we are at all-time lows of fear. In fact, even if you go back to the maximum, it's 16 is pretty low. 1 year we are at the lowest. Actually, it's pretty much the lowest. We could see some more blood in the coming week, but I don't expect too much. And 3 months low and 1 month low, as you can see. So this is like the lowest we could go, more or less. But we could see some. I would like all these 4 to be red, and then take a little bit of time to go ahead. Also, I want to talk about, there is either a bull market or there is bear market, but we have to always get an indication of which side of the market are we in. Are we on the bullish side or the bearish side? But ironically, we would see that the hash rate of Bitcoin as a network was peaked up around, you see here on the date, it was around May when we saw the all-time highs. And there was a China food fear, uncertainty, doubt when the Chinese miners migrated and then went to the US. The hash rate went down. Now we are at all-time highs again. So this always happens as a precursor to a price increase. So when the miners expect the expectation of miners for a profit is when they get in, because during a bear market, of course, the hash rate goes down. So this is no surprise that the miners are getting in, wanting to gain more Bitcoin for, of course, an increase in the miner throughput. This is some other interesting information I got. The number of Monero active nodes distribution across globe. Of course, this is nothing to do with price, but just to kind of note about the decentralization. We also see some nodes in China. That's I don't know how that is got, because many people must be using Tor to change their IPs. But anyways, this was like just an off note.
Yeah, most of those locations aren't accurate, right? Most people are using Tor.
Yeah, the thing is, as a Monero node, some people want to give, expose their IP addresses, but some people also use VPN. Mm-hmm. So it could be a different location. But anyways, this is most of it is concentrated in Europe and US.
Makes sense.
But it's decentralized, as we can see. And one last thing I wanted to point out is that I was reading through an interesting paper which was released somewhere in 2020 and updated 2021. How much is privacy worth around the world and across platforms? So I just want to show this part. Yes, it's here. So this is interesting because it's basically, there's an interesting graph here. What it talks about is across countries, people place the highest value on keeping financial and biometric information private, balance and fingerprint data in particular. And there is an interesting graph I want to share. Yes, this one. So this is like, you have advertisements, like you run GPS on your phone, sharing location and, sharing voice data, browsing history, which is more interesting for a customer. I think, like as this paper says very clearly, it's like sharing of financial information, bank balance is more valuable to people. And this is like a precursor to what might be coming in the future, because this is like a, let's say, human psychology, which people don't want to share this. And even if they want to share this, even if they want to share their bank balance, they want to ask, like, this is like an average of the consensus, $8 USD per person. I know it's maybe not a lot, But this is even as compared to fingerprint sharing. Sharing of bank balance is more private to people.
Oh wow,
And yeah,
makes sense.
and there was a page here. Yes. So average across countries, people seem to be more averse to sharing financial bank balance and biometric fingerprint, and less averse to receiving ads and sharing their location. So yeah, I just wanted to give a
Very
bit
cool.
of a rant on that.
What is that paper?
Yeah, I can share you this after this. This is like from a technology policy institute. I also saw online.
Yeah, maybe we'll try to get them do an interview.
Yeah,
Very
it could
cool.
be good. There were these guys. Yeah, Jeffrey Prince and Scott Walston,
Very cool.
Technology Policy Institute. Yeah, I think that's all from my side.
Awesome, man. This your presentations are getting better and better. This one was great.
Well,
Great
thank you.
job, aFungible. Loving it. Loving it.
Awesome.
I hope
Thanks.
everybody else is. And we
Yes,
should
I'm-
we should mention again. This segment is sponsored by local Monero. And let's check. You want to bring up local Monero real
Yeah,
quick?
sure.
Let's bring it up.
Let's bring it up, my friend.
Bring it up.
I'll share. Takes me a second to right here. Oh, is it not? There you go. I don't know why it's not
Why is
showing
it
for
taking
you.
so long?
I don't know.
All right, well, you say what are the prices? I can't see it from here. I don't know.
Yeah,
Oh,
there
there
you
it
go.
goes. That's delayed. So it's about $200 for a Monero in the United States right now on local Monero. And then if you scroll down, you'd see the cash price. So if you want to buy Monero for cash on local Monero, it's a little higher. There's always a premium there. So it's around ranging from looks like $230 to $250. But yeah, local Monero, one of the best, if not the best way to, obtain Monero without KYC, AML, peer to peer, no exchanges. Yeah, local Monero. Do it up, guys. Thanks again, aFungible. That's awesome. So it seems like we're consolidating. Is the
Yeah,
long
as it looks like at the moment. My only support is $180.
Euro? Oh, 180 is the support.
Yeah, it's a support, and I see that not breaking in the coming time, because we have kind of been consolidating. But the only thing is, if the whole market breaks, I don't know, because of external factors, or the whole Bitcoin, Ethereum, because we are kind of dependent on that. If that breaks, then Monero can break down. So, but we'll see how it goes. But I think, yeah, we are doing pretty much fine. Consolidation is always good.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing we can do otherwise. Yeah, I ignore the price anyway. I think most people in Monero land do. We've become very accustomed to it.
Well, if it goes down, we accumulate more.
Exactly, more for us. We imagine buying Bitcoin at sub 200, right? So that's where we are. It's exciting. If you're into Monero, you understand Monero. These are I think it's exciting times right now. All the other indicators, the non-price indicators, are positive and going up. Hash rate, transaction count, amount of people that are developing on Monero. So it's all to the right and up, which is nice to see.
And also, one thing I actually saw was Monero has the third top develop. How do you say the contribution in development? So first is Bitcoin, second is Ethereum. Now Solana is also coming there in terms of GitHub activity. So Monero is like third or fourth. So that's pretty interesting in terms of technology.
Yeah, I mean it's insane, right? And it's number 50 in on CoinMarketCap. So I mean the disconnect is just tremendous between what Monero is actually achieving as a technology versus what the market is valuing it. It's insanely undervalued compared to other cryptos. I don't know what's going on
All
here.
right.
Why is
Well,
it?
no, you're good. Over here, your computer's
Okay, I
having
just can't see
issues.
it.
No, we're good. We're good here. But thank you so much, aFungible. We appreciate your time and for your price report. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll sign off. Thank you.
Okay, awesome.
Sure.
All right, let's move on to our guest segment. The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys. All righty here. Hi, Linus. How's it going? Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Zanita. Hi, Doug. How are you doing?
Good, man. Good.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. It's actually my very first podcast ever.
Oh, wow. Well,
really?
Congratulations.
All right. Well,
Thanks.
You picked the right one.
I know.
Yeah, totally.
So,
we wanted to have you on. You reached out to us. You're helping us with getting guests and some other things with regards to Monero Talk and Monerotopia. So greatly appreciate that. And I think you landed a pretty good guest for us, right? Potentially?
Potentially, yes. I'm still.
What's the guy's name? We can say it even though it's not. Who is the guy?
It's Nikolai Binner. He's a German comedian and stand-up guy, and he has like a 65K following on YouTube.
Awesome.
And he talks a lot about free speech and censorship in Germany, and he also accepts donations in Monero. So I thought he might be interested. And
I'm excited to have that conversation. You know, it's nice to talk to people that aren't purely, Monero maniacs that actually, are into other things, but overlap with the ideals of Monero. So I think that's going to be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, that's true. I think so too. Yeah.
Cool, man. And then we also wanted to just chat with you because in talking with you, you had mentioned that you wrote a paper on Monero or privacy coins in general, right? Making a comparison. What exactly was that paper and what was it for? Let's get into that a little bit. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's my master's thesis for my university degree. And it's not specifically about privacy coins, more in cryptocurrencies in general. And it's actually written in German because I studied in Germany. But I'm going to talk about it in English. So I guess most of your audience is English speaking. But I was also thinking, you linked it in the description for the podcast. So because I know that a lot of people in Germany are Monero fans, or the other way around, a lot of the Monero community is in Germany. Yeah. So I think maybe someone's interested from Germany and wants to read it. And it's about cryptocurrencies as a medium of exchange. So
what were kind of your conclusions? What did you arrive at?
Yeah. So in my thesis, I described the properties of money, which are scarcity, divisibility, durability, transportability, and last but not least, fungibility. I guess most of Monero people know that. And I picked several cryptocurrencies, the cryptocurrencies that aim to be a medium of exchange. The 10 biggest ones at that time, which is like Bitcoin, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, and Dash, Zcash, Decred, and some others, and Monero. And I analyzed them regarding their properties of money, and I came to the conclusion that they all fulfill 4 of the 5 properties, some better, some less good, but more or less they all fulfill them, except fungibility. So I also described what fungibility is and why it's important. And while Zcash, Dash, and now Pirate Chain and so on fulfill fungibility to a certain degree, but only Monero fully fulfills the property of fungibility. So I arrived to the conclusion that in the long run, currently we don't know what the future holds, but at the current state of cryptocurrency, only Monero can and will be used as a medium of exchange. There are some uncertainties especially with Lightning Network or in general the second layer solutions. But right now, I think there are too many, weaknesses, attack vectors in the Lightning Network that can be exploited. Haven't been exploited yet, as far as I know, but they can be exploited. And also the privacy is pretty weak in the Lightning Network. I think it was a few days ago that, I guess it was Chainalysis, one of the Chainalysis companies announced that Lightning Network is compatible with AML and CFT regulations. So it's probably not fungible on the Lightning Network. And I was also researching the scalability issue because it's not part of the properties of money in the classical sense, but it's also important for cryptocurrency to function. And there's this problem as well for Bitcoin and also Litecoin and most of the other coins, Zcash as well, that they can't scale pretty good in the long run, which is as well maybe solved by the Lightning Network, but there are problems with it, like the potential weaknesses. And so I found out that Monero also solves this problem pretty good with the dynamic block size. And also, which is pretty unknown, I think, is the zero confirmation transactions. So with Monero, it's possible to confirm a transaction within seconds. So there's this issue that is sometimes talked about, that you can't pay with cryptocurrencies in the supermarket because you can't wait 10 minutes at the cashier. But with Monero, it would potentially be possible. So yeah, this is like the first part I talked about in my paper.
Very cool, man.
Is it? One moment.
Sure.
Is it possible for Monero to become money or for cryptocurrency because they fulfill the properties of money? So I came to the conclusion: yes, Monero can be a medium of exchange or money. But also I discussed if it's likely, because right now Monero or crypto in general is not used by the masses of people to pay. Now we have El Salvador, but it's still, the bigger picture says right now it's not used as a currency.
Mm-hmm.
And I analyzed that and I came to the conclusion that it highly depends on the central banks around the world if they keep inflation low, as it has been for the last 10 years, except the last 1.5 years, or if they continue printing more and more money, and also if they will abandon cash in the near future. Mm-hmm. So if they stay like they have been the last 10 years, except for the last 1.5 years, with inflation rates lower than 5% and with cash available, I think if this would be the case, Monero wouldn't prevail in the masses. But I think on this topic, CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, will be a huge catalysator, if that's an English word, not sure.
Catalyst, yep.
Catalyst, yeah, exactly. Yeah, for Monero. So if that will be coming, and it's most likely, then I think Monero will be widely used.
Very cool. So you see the advent of CBDCs as being the catalyst that will potentially push people into using crypto for actual digital cash purposes.
Yes, I think so.
Beyond speculation. And in terms of, I mean, obviously we're seeing lots of money printing going on around the world. That's pushing people into crypto right now. But you're saying as long as that, I mean, if that continues, we're going to continue to push more people into crypto, no?
Yes, more and more. But they mostly use it as a store of value. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure about the state of the crypto market. It's pretty difficult to determine, but yeah, for sure, the money printing pushes people into crypto, but there's also other things going on with Tether, and not sure what they are doing. So I'm not that sure how much money is flowing into crypto.
Interesting. Yeah. Good points. That it might be more Tether printing than anything else. Do you see there being any other potential catalysts other than CBDCs or the elimination of real cash that will kind of nudge people into actually using crypto for its intended purpose?
Yes, I think these are the biggest catalysts, and they will push Monero, and it can't be held back then. But there's also some processes going on for the last 1 or 2 years. And I think it can be summarized as governments around the world making things illegal that have been legal for the last 10 years or whatever. And if they keep illegalizing things that are quite normal and continue with that, I think that's also a catalyst for Monero. I heard that it's getting more and more regular that people getting their bank accounts cancelled because they donate to the wrong political party, movement, or whatever. So that's also a catalyst for Monero, I think, because right now it might be possible with Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is traceable, so that could be also a problem in the future, which is only being solved by Monero. Or if you use Zcash and Pirate Chain properly, they could also solve it, but Monero is the most easy to use.
So basically, as governments become more tyrannical around the world, which is unfortunately the current track we're on, people are going to open their eyes more towards cryptos like Monero.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no, great points, man. Great points. I wish I was able to read German. Anything else you want to bring up from the paper? So what was your degree in? What were you trying to get a degree in from when you wrote that paper?
Yeah, I majored in, I guess it's business administration or business management. Don't know the exact translation, but yeah, that's the case. So I had to negotiate with my professor a little bit because business administration is not economics, and the part I was talking about is more like economics, monetary theory. So I had to split my master thesis into 2 parts, and the first part was the part I was talking about, and the second part is also the influence of cryptocurrencies on companies and the business segment.
Very interesting. Did you look at black markets and how crypto is being used there? And we always talk about how people are transitioning into Monero over there. Vendors are requesting Monero versus Bitcoin. Did you look into that at all?
Just a little bit. I didn't make it a big topic because Monero was the result of my findings, so to say, but it was in general about cryptocurrencies. But there was one part in my thesis where I talked about it, and it was, I called it industries with high preference for privacy, namely gambling and adult entertainment, where they prefer cryptocurrencies and especially Monero to stay private. And I also had one example. I think there was a porn site which got their bank accounts cancelled. And now I think they only accept cryptocurrencies and also Monero.
Very cool, man. I mean, we've talked about it on the show a little bit. In Germany, there's a large contingent of people that use cash in their daily lives, right? In Germany?
Yes.
So do you see Monero, like you said, there's a large Monero community in Germany. Do you see that growing? Do you see Germany as kind of being a good petri dish for the growth of Monero in the real world beyond places like dark markets? Do you see it kind of being one of the early adopter places, given that there's already this appeal to using cash?
I think so, yes, but I'm not actually sure because I don't know many people personally in Germany that are using Monero. Probably part of the reason is because Monero people tend to stay private. But I think there was a bar in Berlin. Back then, they had Monero meetups and accepted Monero. And there's also a sticker guy. I think he got also some notice in Reddit, and he has a Telegram group. And he distributed Monero stickers. And if you walk through Berlin, you notice there are Monero stickers everywhere. So I guess there are a lot of people buying or getting these stickers and planting them. So I think so, yes. Germany has a good case for Monero because of their love for cash and also a big community in Germany. But I don't know actually more to it because I don't live in Germany anymore. I live in South America now. So the connection is not there anymore in person.
All right, man. Linus, thank you so much. We're gonna try to push ahead because I think there's that Monero community meeting that's happening with regards to MoneroCon. So we should probably try to wrap up Monerotopia.
Yeah.
Okay. So people can join that.
We'll move on.
Thank you so much, man. And thanks for helping out with the show. Thanks for helping out with getting us guests. We'll obviously be in touch. Do you think you'll be going to Monerotopia potentially?
I don't know if I can go.
Okay.
There are some factors that keep me not going.
Say no more. Everybody's
Yeah.
dealing with factors these days. It's pretty scary. It's hard.
Yeah, right.
True.
Yes, it is. Do you want to move on to the new segment?
Yeah, let's move on to the new segment, and we'll try to do it fast. Linus, please stay on if you can, and then we'll bring up anybody else that wants to jump on stage. But first, we're going to run through the news.
All right. And now for our weekly news segment. Very dramatic.
So dramatic.
So dramatic.
Let's bring it up. What do we got? Haveno website updated. Now there are more info, a blog, and FAQ section, which also includes an explanation of the differences with BIS. So yeah, guys, check that out. Haveno is making progress, which is nice to see. They're aiming to be the kind of Monero-based version of BISC. BISC is a decentralized exchange. Haveno is going to be a new version of BIS, but based on Monero. Which is really exciting. So it's just going to be yet another utility that the community have for the purposes of exchanging your Monero for other cryptos in a decentralized way. So it's exciting to see them making developments. I think I read on their site that they're aiming to launch at the end of 2022. And we'll be reaching out to them. Hopefully we could get maybe somebody who's working on the project to come and present at Monerotopia, which would be super cool.
Mm-hmm.
There was a report that examines the use of Bitcoin and Monero by right-wing extremists. So yet another one of these articles, reports pointing out that, nefarious groups, or whether you consider them nefarious or not, but some certain subculture is using Monero and Bitcoin because of its censorship resistant qualities. Just, frustrating to see people pointing it out in a negative light when they can be pointing out the positive fact that this technology works as intended as digital cash. And that's how people are using it. And you can pinpoint and get upset about the fact that certain groups are using it. But it just shows that it works, guys. So once again, another report saying Monero works as intended. Unfortunately, it's completely permissionless, and anybody anywhere can use it, whether or not you agree with the opinions of the groups of people that are using it. And obviously, those that are going to be adopting it first are the ones that need it most. And I guess this particular group is one of those groups that feels that they need it in order to function. But what might be right-wing extremists today may be another minority group that might need it tomorrow that you may align with morally. So just another one of those reports. Sienna Swap adds Bitcoin, Monero trading pairs. So super exciting there. So now you can use Sienna Swap to, yet again, another way to exchange between Monero and other cryptos in a somewhat decentralized manner. I don't completely understand Sienna Swap enough to say how decentralized it is, but yet another avenue, another way, another on-ramp for going between Monero and other cryptos. I'm going to start to explore it a little bit. The secret network and Sienna Swap. I want to look into those liquidity pools that are now there that, you can essentially put your Monero up for liquidity purposes. You can get interest on your Monero, and then you're providing the liquidity that's necessary for people that want to swap between these tokens. So it's exciting to see progress being made there. Super cool. We don't need centralized exchanges, guys. We got plenty of other things that are being built, like atomic swaps, like Haveno, and things like Sienna Swap that are going to be taking the place. Thorchain. There's so much happening where we're no longer going to need these centralized entities to swap in and out of Monero. Justin had tweeted to Jesse Powell of Kraken, and he's saying, did the FCA change their stance on privacy coins technologies, ? Or did Coinbase convince the FCA that Dash, ZEC are okay because chain analysis companies can make money selling tools for those despite Zcash's privacy by default marketing? So basically Coinbase went ahead, Coinbase, I think UK, went ahead and added or re-added ZEC and Dash. So, it leads to the question of, all right, so why is Coinbase able to add ZEC and Dash, Zcash and Dash, and not Monero? Is it that the FCA changed their stance on privacy coins and now they're just going to allow them to add any privacy coins, which I hate calling them privacy coins, including Monero? Or is it that, Coinbase is just adding Dash and Zcash because they can essentially still trace those coins as needed? And Jesse Powell's response, if you can scroll down, Sunita, was the latter. So, the fact that, wait, if you scroll back up there. So basically, yeah, chain analysis companies, as ArcticMine was basically purporting is, or ArcticMine's theory is that the chain analysis companies are the ones that are putting pressure on exchanges to delist Monero because they don't have a means of offering a tool that can track and trace Monero. Chain analysis companies can't sell their services to exchanges for tracking and tracing Monero because they have no means of doing it. They have no service to sell, which is why they're okay with coins like Dash and Zcash being on centralized exchanges because then they can sell their services, their chain analytics services to those companies for tracing those coins, but there's nothing that they can sell to those companies with regards to Monero. So they're kind of pushing those companies to delist Monero, but are okay with them having these other coins. So it's just very enlightening to see that Jesse Powell, CEO of Kraken, is essentially agreeing with what ArcticMine was guessing to be the case, that it is just the chain analysis companies putting pressure on exchanges, which is why we're seeing these delistings of Monero. What else we got there? Related, so there was a tweet that chain analysis will support Lightning Network transaction monitoring. So once again, chain analysis companies selling their ability to track and trace to exchanges, and now they're saying they have the ability to do it for Lightning Network. So if you thought Lightning Network was going to be the thing that turns Bitcoin into digital cash and makes Monero useless, it's obviously not. Chain analytics companies, we don't know how or what exactly they're doing, but they seem to be able to provide some means of tracking and tracing Lightning Network transactions, and they're offering a tool for companies that need to stay compliant because of KYC AML regulations, and they've now added LN. And as far as we know, no such tool exists for Monero. I guess the day that we do see Monero added to Coinbase means that it can be tracked and traced by a chain analysis company, or maybe that's just the day they've moved on, given up, and everybody realized the jig is up, guys. You can't track and trace Monero, but you're going to have to live with it. And the best thing you could probably do is add it to exchanges, so at least you get some information on who is obtaining Monero. I personally am okay with centralized exchanges adding Monero. You have I guess people that are even more diehard than me that don't even want to see Monero on these KYC AML exchanges. But as I'm sure everybody's heard my argument, I'm fine with that. It's just another on-ramp. Yes, we want people obtaining their Monero in the most decentralized way possible without KYC AML. But if you had to get any crypto in a way that does require KYC AML, probably the best way you can do it is by obtaining Monero, because at least when you pull it off the exchange, you can't be tracked and traced thereafter. But that was big news. And the Untraceable posted this morning, on December 1st, one of the only remaining holders of Zcash announced that they bought another 85 million worth, sending the asset into a 23% decline. So Barry Silbert, or Shilbert, people like to call him, as he loves to shill his coins. I don't know if it was a week or two ago where he said, he's doubling down, essentially buying more Zcash. He obviously already owns a ton of it. He funds a lot of the, companies that are pro Zcash, the exchanges that we see that have Zcash but don't have Monero. And it looks like his shill didn't really work, as Zcash continues to go down in price. Not a big Zcash fan, guys. Cake Wallet is doing a giveaway. So Cake Wallet's $5,000 in Bitcoin. They're giving away $5,000 in Bitcoin, which I guess if you want it, you could exchange it into Monero. Nothing wrong with that. We're giving away Bitcoin versus Monero. And so 10 people are going to win $500 each. We didn't participate in this yet.
We didn't. We gotta jump on.
Yeah, we'll get lucky. So guys, check that out. Super cool. 10 people will win $500 each. You just have to, read the directions there. Post your Cake Wallet Bitcoin receive screen, tag 2 friends, follow Cake Wallet, and then they're gonna pick 10 winners.
Ooh la la, before December 25th. So
yeah.
And last but not least,
check out the CCS. There's some ideas that are things that are in the idea stage that need to or may make their way over into the funding stage. So a way to help the process is to go in there and comment on them, whether or not you think they're good ideas or bad. And if you think they're good and you write some comments there, it will help move them over to the funding stage. The ETH XMR Atomic Swaps is one of them. That was put up by Elizabeth, who is going to be one of the speakers at Monerotopia. So show your support, guys. Jump on there. This is not even about donating yet. Just comment. All that stuff helps. It helps the ecosystem and helps move what are, helps us sort out the good ideas from the bad ones and move them into the funding stage.
Cool, yeah.
And MoneroCon's on there as well. Obviously, that's a hot topic. And like I said, I think we're going to be talking about that
today,
in
right?
like the next, I think now they might even be on.
Oh, whoops. All right. Let's get moving.
So yeah, that concludes our news. Let's bring up anybody that wants to jump on stage, and we can have a quick little chat here. We're already over the hour. I think we went long with our intro, right?
Yeah, we just had a lot to talk about.
A lot to talk
it's
about.
usually sometimes much shorter than that.
But it's all been good stuff. Let's
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down. I know, it's so cheesy, but it worked. Come on, I gotta change that. But I'll post the link in the chat to see if anyone else wants to quickly jump on, say hello, ask a question to our guest or anything that we've discussed on the news segment.
Yeah, we got a bunch of people watching, guys. Jump on. We
have Nik here. Hi, Nik.
Hey, guys.
How are you? Thanks for jumping on.
I'm doing good.
How's it going?
Absolutely. It's going great.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Hello? Oh, I think he got cut off.
He got cut off.
Aw.
He got censored.
Oh, no. Yeah, I think he had a question about Lightning networks.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
yes.
we can.
Awesome. So I was reading Chainalysis documents.
Oh, we're losing you, Nik.
Oh, we got ArticMine on. Arctic, jump on.
Hello.
How are you?
Well, I'm doing good.
Glad you can join us. How's everything?
Yeah, it's very interesting talk today.
Awesome. Glad you're here.
Yeah. Were you listening to Linus's talk?
Yes, I was. Yes. And I actually took a quick glance at his thesis, some parts of it. My German is not that good, but I can get some feeling for it. And the points that he was making, which is kind of interesting.
What, you speak German too? What is it?
I can read some German, and I can use translating tools.
Awesome.
So that's kind of how I work around that one. But after understanding it, very little.
I'm just gonna jump over to Nik because he's a first timer on stage here, and I think he has a question. Nik, what's going on, man?
Hello?
Yeah, is my mic working now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we got you now.
I can see you.
So I was on Chainalysis.
Oh.
Maybe no video. Do no video.
I see what's happening. When I switch tabs, my mic cuts off.
Okay.
So anyway, on the Chainalysis API documentation, it looks like they're using the unique transaction ID hash for each Lightning payment, and then linking that to a timestamp and providing that information to exchanges, I guess. So I guess in some ways, some transactions, you can actually, tag them to a specific person and then do it that way. I'm not even sure how they're able to detect, which transaction is okay and which one's not.
Yeah, I have no understanding as to what information they're actually able to glean off of the Lightning Network and what they're actually providing. ArticMine, do you have any insight there? So we see chain analysis companies saying they now offer a tool to help, gain information on the Lightning Network for purposes of complying.
Let me be blunt here. How are they going to tell apart a Taproot transaction on the Bitcoin blockchain that is a Lightning Network funding or closing of a channel and an atomic swap with Monero?
I don't know. Good question.
I mentioned this because coming after Taproot, I find it really interesting that Chainalysis is saying this. I disagree with the idea that they can trace Bitcoin effectively. In fact, my point of view is that they can't. In fact, that what they're selling on Bitcoin it's really borders of surveillance theater. They're not really tracing anything. They're giving the illusion of surveillance to regulators and to exchanges, and that's kind of what they're saying. And the problem is, and when people are saying, would you use Monero in a KYC exchange, there's no risk of fundamental incompatibility with KYC. KYC is know your customer. It's KYT, the marketing slogan of Chainalysis, where the Monero is a conflict because the transactions are hidden. The real danger, I think, with Bitcoin, in particular with any coin where you can do it, is that you're going to be falsely accused. Is that you have ineffective surveillance, and you could be falsely accused of a serious terrorist act, for example, or engaging in serious criminal activities in a completely innocent fashion. And it's interesting you mention this, because when we did the response to the EU, one of the scenarios we had a scenario where a person was framed in an act of terrorism, and they were completely innocent. And all they had to do is for the merchant to pay with Bitcoin to a merchant. The merchant gets a victim of extortion, and this is done off chain, so there's nothing on the chain. Those Bitcoins go to the hands of a criminal organization. They then in turn take those Bitcoins from the merchant with nothing on the blockchain, and they sell them off chain. They sell the private key to a terrorist who then uses it to buy, for example, ingredients for a bomb. And no amount of analysis or blockchain surveillance is going to tell you anything, because there's nothing on the blockchain. I mean, it's all happened off chain. They were trading private keys. I mean, there's a simple example of how it can be done. It's completely useless. They're basically selling the illusion of surveillance. That's my opinion. They're not selling. So this is why I think it's very dangerous to think of Bitcoin as a surveillance coin. I personally think it's not a surveillance coin at all. It's a very ineffective surveillance coin, in fact, by design. The fact that you don't have good privacy doesn't mean you have good surveillance. And these guys are basically just selling the illusion of surveillance. That's my opinion on the subject. And it's very dangerous because you can be falsely accused. And I think that's, the point that a lot of people are missing in this, including the regulators, I must say.
Well, I mean, surveillance on Bitcoin, you don't think works to any degree, really?
Basically, it can be easily fooled. I mean, it's very easy to manipulate it in order to actually enhance the very thing you're trying to avoid. If you're somebody who wants to do money laundering or wants to do terrorism financing, you can manipulate these companies into actually helping that end. That's how bad it is. Because they're making assumptions. They're making assumptions that everything happens on the chain.
Right. So, I mean, so you think the jig is going to be up at some point with these chain analytics companies, or they're just going to continue to improve?
Well, I don't think they can improve. I mean, I think the jig is going to be up. I mean, a perfect example was from the Financial Asset Task Force. They went ahead and they compared results for illicit activity for 7 blockchain surveillance companies, 6 or 7 of them. And they came out with figures on the Bitcoin blockchain between something like 0.5% of transactions to 12.7% of transactions. They were all over the place. And then year to year. And then they conclude that the bottom line is a minimum threshold. Well, it's not even that. It's just totally unreliable. And this was just different blockchain surveillance companies that were asked to analyze the Bitcoin blockchain on an average basis. I'm not talking about individual transactions where your probability in error is going to be a lot higher. So on the average totals, they were off between 0.5% and like 12.7% on illicit activity on the Bitcoin blockchain. So what are these guys selling? And this is nothing. And the data, the data came from none other than the Financial Asset Task Force. These are the guys that are pushing the anti-money laundering stuff on the regulators. Their data shows how totally ineffective this is. So the probability of a false accusation is enormous. I mean, I just sit back and listen to this, and it is like people talk about Bitcoin as a surveillance coin. I mean, the jig is up. The question is, will the message get through the marketing and the lobbying of these companies are telling the regulators? But essentially, as far as I'm concerned, they're actually enabling money laundering and terrorism financing. I'll go that far. They're enabling it. They actually are facilitating it because they're giving this false sense of security to exchanges and to banks, etc. That, no, KYT is not KYC. KYC is know your customer or know your client. So it's knowledge about the person that is making the transfer. That's what KYC is. KYT is claiming that you can replace KYC with this. It's know your transaction, which is a marketing slogan of Chainalysis. And that can be all over the place. I mean, this is what the Financial Assets Task Force told you. So they should be doing KYC, They should be learning about their customers rather than engaging in surveillance on the Bitcoin blockchain if they're serious about having an impact on these issues.
So how would you define, because obviously this is a constant thing that's talked about, Bitcoin's fungibility then? What's your current take on the fungibility of Bitcoin?
Bitcoin has very strong plausible deniability. That's by design. And so the original concept in Bitcoin was that you would throw enough error into the system that you could not go to court and prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you're a criminal if you're using Bitcoin. That was the design. And Bitcoin is good at that. The problem is the standard of proof is very, very low to shut down someone's bank account. It's just an accusation or to send a SWAT team. So you can think of Bitcoin providing you fungibility at the level of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, but not at plausible, like a very sort of like a plausible, let's say for example, probable cause. So you're in somewhere in between there. And so what can happen is you can accuse somebody. I don't think you even have probable cause, but you can make an accusation big enough that you'll send a SWAT team to someone's home. There's a big difference from swatting somebody than convicting them in a fair court of law. And Bitcoin is in between. It's enough to send the SWAT team, but not enough to convict in a court of law. And that's where the danger is. And these chain analysis companies are taking advantage of I call them blockchain surveillance companies, right? Because they're taking advantage of the idea that the AML, it's a risk-based system. They're abusing that in order to sell something that in reality, and all you have to do is go to the Financial Action Task Force data, and it says between 0.5%, like 12.7%. Well, it's bound to be a very large number of false positives there, innocent people being accused. And this is essentially a problem. So you're not going to get convicted in a court of law, but you may get killed by a SWAT team. And that's the danger with Bitcoin. Because of the fact that these companies are selling this. And I think it's very dangerous. That's why I said, if you say it's a good surveillance coin, no, I think Bitcoin is not a surveillance coin at all. It is a lousy surveillance coin by design. It is not good privacy, but that's an entirely different thing. And so what you want to do, the reason you want to use Monero, in my opinion, with a KYC exchange, in fact, I would consider it a must, is to prevent being falsely accused. Because there's a very significant probability, if you were to use a coin like, say, Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, and you don't use a mix-up because they target that also, or Zcash for that matter, or Dash, and you use it and then you pay a merchant, and that merchant becomes compromised by a criminal, then you stand the risk of being falsely accused. Right. And you have very real risk, yes.
Right, which ties into the fungibility, right?
Yes, and it fails the fungibility at that point. Well, it's how you define fungibility. Are you defining it on the basis of probable cause? Or are you defining a proof beyond a reasonable doubt? I mean, what level of justice system are you applying to that criteria? And I think that's the problem, really.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is that, the flaw with Bitcoin is that it allows something like chain analytics to exist. Whether or not you think they're good at what they're trying to do is just the fact that they can analyze the chain and offer something to the point where it's creating this friction in commerce, where when you receive a Bitcoin or send a Bitcoin, there's a history that's attached to it that can be analyzed, and then you have to question where that Bitcoin came from because you can. Whereas with Monero, there's no question to be asked.
Well, why don't we take the illusion away? But what I'm saying is that history may be grossly inaccurate. And so that's an even higher danger. So yes, you have a history that gives you the illusion of surveillance, but the accuracy of that history could be all over the place. Because ultimately what you're saying is, like if you go to let's say you go to a cafe, and you buy a meal for say $15, and you pay with $100 bill, and you get $80 and some change back. And one of those $20 bill, before you, unbeknownst to you, somebody who was planning a terrorist act but hasn't done it yet, went in there and bought a meal and paid with a $20 bill. Now, you get that terrorist's $20 bill back. You're not, if you're dealing in cash, you're not accused. You've done nothing wrong. You've done nothing illegal. But you're getting that $20 bill that came back from somebody who's planning, after having that meal, to get on a plane and hijack it. I mean, in 9/11, for example, the hijackers, the night before, they probably went to a place and bought a meal. And they paid with cash with it. Somebody got those bills back in change. Now, if this is Bitcoin and you've got Chainalysis involved, and their KYT, as far as that innocent person is concerned, becomes a complicit in that terrorist act. That's how simple it is.
Right.
And that's the problem, and that's the fundamental problem. So it's an inaccurate surveillance. It's even worse than the surveillance itself.
Because it's going to lead to false positives.
Absolutely, and false negatives, because you can also manipulate it to make the terrorists look like they're totally innocent, because you shift it over to the other person before the act is committed. I don't know what to say.
Interesting that you essentially think that over time, it'll be more difficult to surveil Bitcoin. I'm of the opinion that it would, they're just going to gain an ability to surveil. It's going to improve over time.
Well, it's actually going to get worse. And the reason it's going to get worse is because you're dealing with a needle in a haystack problem. That's the blockchain, even the Bitcoin blockchain with its capped limit. But something like Bitcoin Cash, where they have a 32 megabyte limit and they're prepared to expand it, it's going to get harder and harder and harder. I mean, because the other problem that you have is if you look at the binomial coefficient, the mathematics of the problem. If I've got n outputs in a blockchain and I've got k tainted outputs, and I can show that they're tainted, I'm trying to find a way I can choose the k outputs out of the n outputs. Well, that's nothing more than the binomial coefficient that grows as k factorial and n factorial. So there's no way that technology is going to copy the fact that's make this possible as the blockchain grows. So your cost of using the blockchain goes exponentially, but your surveillance accuracy, the mind goes as a factorial. So just even the sheer size of it's going to make it less and less effective.
But aren't we gaining more data on the people that, heuristics on the people that are using Bitcoin and how they're,
You're getting more data, but is it useful? You can be a flood of data. And the question is, how do you extract the useful information out of that data? And the problem has already been identified by even FinCEN in the United States. Identified this problem, that as the blockchain grows, it gets harder and harder to do this. Because you got too much data. That's the problem.
Right.
So,
always interesting, yeah. ArcticMine. You're always obviously always a step ahead, or more than one step. Andres, okay, go ahead. Anything else? I just want to move it along to the next guy.
Yes, sure.
Andres, what's going on, man?
Doing super good. Listening to our friend Francisco here, which is always interesting. I do agree with him that the worst part of all this is the false accusations that we're going to face, and that is sad. If I had to pick, I would pick to err in the side of leaving some bad guys go free, that putting in jail some good guys by mistake.
Yeah.
But that's nothing that they will care, because basically it's cheaper and it aligns with their incentives to do so and to play the act of safety. Nobody's going to complain. A few of us are going to complain, but at scale, I think they're not going to complain. Just as ArcticMine says, they are selling the theater delusion. They say the illusion of surveillance to people in governments that are already selling us the illusion of money and control. So basically, they're all in the same side of selling illusions.
Linus, you got any opinion on that? You want to chime in?
To be honest, not really. I didn't think that much. It was really interesting to hear ArcticMine's take on this. I also thought, like you, Doug, that the more information, the better they get for surveillance, but apparently they don't. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I need to continue to absorb and understand that. I don't know. I mean, I have to assume ArcticMine is correct, but we'll continue to research and talk to others.
Don't assume. Don't trust. Verify.
Of course.
Check the binomial theorem.
Yeah, no,
basic mathematics. That's all I'm saying.
No, I understand what you're saying with regards to that. Obviously, the more data, but what we do know is most people obtain their crypto through centralized exchanges by and far, right? And those that are, especially those that are just getting into crypto now, and so all those on ramps, we know who the people are, and we can see what's going on once they obtain their crypto. I don't know. I mean, obviously, this is something that's continuing to evolve. I guess I need to understand Arctic's thoughts deeper. I think he's continued to express this in different ways, and I'm just trying to fully comprehend, essentially what it means and how we. So, ArcticMine, how would you then ultimately describe the differences, scaling aside, but in terms of privacy, fungibility, surveillance, not surveillance, between Monero and Bitcoin, and why one has an advantage over the other?
Well, I mean, I think in a simple way. I mean, if you look at Bitcoin's original design, the idea was to preserve the anonymity of the private key. And Monero just does a way better job by many orders of magnitude than Bitcoin does at doing that. So, but that still was the design in Bitcoin. It's just Monero does a phenomenal job at it, while Bitcoin does a very iffy job. But it doesn't mean that it tries and it throws error into a surveillance system. So, I mean, I think that's the way to look at it. I mean, if you go back to the Satoshi paper, Satoshi says this very clearly, that the idea of privacy in Bitcoin is to preserve the anonymity of the public key. So in a public key, you do not know who holds that public key. And what Monero has done is done a phenomenal job of doing that. Mm-hmm. Well, Bitcoin is kind of just Mickey Mouse. But it's enough to create enough error to make it dangerous in many ways and to give this illusion of surveillance.
Right, but you're saying over time, even that Mickey Mouse way it does it will be good enough, because it's going to become more and more difficult to.
Well, in Bitcoin, I think it's a bit more harder. But in Ethereum, for example, if you have scaling, you have enough. It's like a needle in a haystack. If you make the haystack 10 times larger, what Monero does, makes all the needles look like the hay. So you can't hardly tell them apart, but you still have a needle in a haystack problem. So as you increase the amount of data, then of course finding the possible combinations of which you can find the tainted outputs from the total outputs becomes harder and harder because of this probability issue. What's made surveillance somewhat viable in Bitcoin is the fact that the block size was limited. Interestingly enough, one of the best coins to test this type of surveillance is Dash, because it's a very small blockchain, so a lot smaller than Bitcoin. And in fact, the privacy provided by Private Send, which is the Dash mixing, is de minimis compared to the size of the blockchain. So you can actually do blockchain surveillance a lot easier on Dash than you can on Bitcoin. And I will say the same thing about the D transactions in Zcash. It's a lot easier to do it on the D transactions of Zcash than it is to do it on Bitcoin, just because of the size of the blockchain. you have less transactions to process.
All right, a lot to absorb.
Yeah, I mean, there is a numbers problem here. I mean, how much data you have to process.
Right.
And this is the what they're doing in Bitcoin is they're relying a lot on the fact that most of the economic activity in Bitcoin is happening actually on centralized ledgers of exchanges, and the kind of thing that tracing, which is easy to do. If I take, let's say I want to buy Monero, and I buy Bitcoin on a KYC exchange, I take it to a self-hosted Bitcoin wallet. I take that Bitcoin and move it to another KYC exchange to buy Monero. Well, I can structure that to make it that easy for a blockchain surveillance company to know that I went from exchange to exchange. It's very easy to do. All you do is you don't mix your Bitcoins at all. So you take your Bitcoin to a new Bitcoin address. You withdraw from exchange A. They go into a one-to-one. They take the entire address and send it to exchange B. If they know that exchange A and exchange B are KYC exchanges, then they know that the Bitcoins went from exchange A to one address to exchange B. And there's no even knowledge of what the rest of that wallet is doing. I mean, that's fundamentally a very high level of privacy if you are on the blockchain, because all you know is that X amount of Bitcoin was taken from exchange A to exchange B. It's no different than saying someone took $50,000 draft from Bank of America into Chase. Well, that doesn't tell you anything about the customer who took it. Totally private. So you can do that. I mean, like I said, you can manipulate these things fairly easily. For whatever, I mean, I've done it myself. I mean, if I want to do that, and I want to let them know that I went from exchange A to exchange B, that's what I do. Mm-hmm. So it's just. I mean, I laugh at what they're doing. I mean, but basically, what they're giving the solution. So but I say, but of course, you could do that with travel rule, and you could do that just with KYC. All you have to do is say, okay, prove that you own the exchange, the address. And you're the user, so you can do it. You don't need to engage in this theater. So it's easy to make it work if you want to, if that's to your advantage, and easy to frustrate it if that's to your advantage also.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna jump to Andreas once again. So we announced that you guys are gonna be at Monerotopia. Do you know who's gonna be showing up from Moneroujo team?
Yeah, we don't know yet because we are all in different countries with different regulations. We have different continents with different regulations and different permissions to get into the US. So it's a surprise even for us. It's like a big surprise. So yeah, no, we don't know, but we will try to be there as many of us as possible. Cool. And we will give you a great talk. Probably at best a bit less great that ArcticMine's here, but just good enough so it makes the cut. So yeah, we're planning to go. Also, I was thinking two things. I was thinking something about what ArcticMine says here. That the thing that I do agree is that in a scenario, maybe I'm just saying anything, right? In a scenario where crypto is actually being cypherpunkishly used, right, between peer-to-peer and not so predominantly between exchanges or people getting on and off exchanges all the time. The more and the more it's used peer-to-peer, you get more data, but it's also more difficult to analyze. That's the way that I understand it, because now you have between one or two hops, everybody's touching like a known address and an unknown exchange or one known participant. But when you get to the point that we're all hoping to get, where you can buy groceries with your crypto, and then the man from the groceries buys something for food, and then the other man, just in between you have a lot of participants of small wallets that you don't know who they are and what they are doing. And I realize they can throw all the AI that can about that problem and quantum compute and make everything super tricky. But I think it's too much that. I mean, it's a lot of people in the world doing a lot of transactions, and especially even in something like Bitcoin, when you're not tied to just one address per person, it gets complicated. Of course, Monero is better, but I do think it's going to be very interesting, and it's going to be very complicated to actually pull that. And in the case that you want to pursue something, I mean, or somebody that you say, okay, I got this terrorist, I can trace their transactions, and I want to take it to court, you will need something more than just the analytics of the transactions, because you will have a lot of possible deniability on that. I mean, it's just going to be you, the terrorist, with 50 other person that just buy a coffee or something like that. One hop after what, or before, or two, or where did you draw the line? It's in the fifth, on the sixth, on the eighth. It's exponential. It's like hundreds of people on court that had to do with something, and I don't see that scaling up. I mean, it's just another clue, and maybe it's useful to get to the actual person, but you will not be able to use that, I think, that effectively in court.
What they're saying, and I think Andres' point is really, really valid, is how many hops. And this is, I think, what's at the heart of the discrepancies in the FATF data, is that different blockchain surveillance companies, one says 3 hops, one says 4 hops, one says 5 hops, and so on. And so they assign arbitrarily, they pass judgment on the number of hops, and that's what leads to these wild variations. So one is saying that it's tainted after 2 hops, and one is saying it takes 10 hops. And so you get this big discrepancy in the data, because that's a totally arbitrary judgment. I mean, even if you know that the target address is tainted, how many hops away, that's completely arbitrary. And that's part of it. And the example that I created, I designed it, I designed it, but it was, you decided so you minimize the number of hops to maximize so I had the innocent person basically being playing with about 2 hops or something by doing it off chain in that manner. But this is essentially the issue, is that the number of hops you don't know. The other issue, you're very correct, of course, is this business of peer-to-peer wallets. That's exactly where this completely breaks down. If you like one from exchange A to exchange B with an intermediate, something like that, you could do it, but it breaks down in the small wallets. The other one, which is careful mistake that some people have made, is that they will take, say, 100 bitcoins and split it up into amounts of 0.01 bitcoin, and they spread it all over the place, and that's fine. And then they reassemble it all together, and that's when the blockchain surveillance company has some correlation that they can actually present. So that's the one edge case where they can actually present something. But you need someone like recombining 10,000 outputs or something into one big output. Essentially what they would be doing is, let's say they got 100 bitcoins and they want to run it through a mixer at 0.01 bitcoin a chart. So that's been attempted, and they claim that they can the whole thing converges back on itself. So that's an example, but people are not going to make that mistake, and that's the problem with this. But anyway, it's an interesting, very interesting subject, but like I said, I actually have real problem. I personally would have a real fear of using a coin like Litecoin or Bitcoin and using it for a peer-to-peer purchase. I would really have fear, because there's a really strong possibility that you could be framed. That would be my. If you just want to move from KYC exchange to KYC exchange, that's okay. I mean, because you can play, you at least have somebody you can go after, like without mixing it with the others. So if you take Bitcoin out of one KYC exchange and take it to another KYC exchange to your own wallet, yeah, you'll be fine. But other than that, I wouldn't touch it.
That's the sad part about it, that everybody just ends up using centralized exchanges for everything. They're just exposed to the price. That's what I mean.
It's just the easiest thing to do now, and people are, for the most part, just speculating anyway, right? They're not really doing anything else with crypto. Most people. Nik, are you still there? You have any comments based on everything that's being said here? You still have Nik up there? I see he was posting.
Nik went on.
He's gone.
He's posting comments.
He's gone.
He's gone.
He didn't want to hurt your feelings, but for 30 minutes.
He's slowly disappeared.
He's gone.
Oh no, I'm
From
back.
the shower.
I'm back, guys.
Nik, any comments you want to?
I agree with ArcticMine's comments about the KYC and everything. I think KYT is really interesting, and I'd like to learn about more of how they actually do KYT instead of KYC. Any thoughts on that, Arctic? Like, what's their methodology for doing KYT?
Well, I mean, it comes down, I think, to making this judgment call on how many hops and making an arbitrary allegation after X number of hops, it's tainted before it's not, or assigning a probability. If it's 1 hop away, it's higher risk, and if it's 10 hop away, it's lower risk in a totally arbitrary fashion. And then wrapping it up in a big wrapper of a nice interface and so on, and marketing that as a product. I mean, it's what it is. But when you get down to what it does, the term that I have heard, and I've heard this term from actual people in compliance, is surveillance theater. I mean, in 2019, I went to a Bitcoin conference, and it's a great way to do it. Show up at a Bitcoin conference wearing a Monero t-shirt. Then you find out that you're on the core team of Monero. And then they introduce you to their compliance officer as a way of throwing the compliant officer into the deep end. This is actually, and they tell you, I mean, it's, because what these guys are doing is they're hiding behind non-disclosure agreements. They're hiding behind, a lot of the people in the exchanges know what's going on. I mean, people like Jesse and Powell and Kraken, he knows what's going on, but his hands are tied. His hands are tied by their non-disclosure agreements and by the pressure from the regulators. But they know what's going on. Mm-hmm. The people that are there, they know what's going on. They know this stuff. As a broad-based tool, it's useless. Now, in very specialized cases where you have a police investigation, not as an ML tool, and you have all sorts of correlating data, you might be useful. I'm not denying, but it's a very rare specialized case, and that does not build a multi-billion-dollar company. You need the bulk analysis claim, which is not really analysis, it's sort of a failed surveillance, and that's what you need in order to sell this big company. If all you're going to have is one edge case that someone made a mistake, I mean, it's a well-known fact in law enforcement. Criminals get caught because they make mistakes. Any law enforcement officer will tell you that. And so, yeah, I mean, if they make a mistake and these guys can catch it, yeah, but that's not an effective tool to attempt to detect money laundering on a broad basis. It isn't. And it's incredibly, because they're not really, they don't have any correlation, they have no other information, they're just making an arbitrary choice. There's a state that's X number of hops, you're bad, we're going to shut down your account and take your money. Or make it very difficult for you to get it back.
Got it. Nik, anything else you want to throw in there?
Well, I mean, yes, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
yeah, that makes sense. And just another thing that was on my mind was the 21 cap limit for Bitcoin. And, like El Salvador, when they implemented this as a legal tender, I'm just curious as to how they're not thinking long-term enough to once Bitcoin switches from a coin-based model to the transaction fee model. Like, the security will be very unstable, Like, I'm just wondering why they haven't thought long-term enough about that problem.
I mean, I don't know what to say about this. I mean, I sold my Bitcoins for Monero in 2014 and 2015 over this very issue.
Yeah.
And if you actually look at how Monero fees work, what it shows is that in Monero, the fee and reward, and this is with the constant tail emission, the fee and reward will fall or stay constant over time as the block size increases. So the evidence, and if you just look at the evidence, you go to BitInfo charts, you take a look at fee and reward for Bitcoin, and it's falling even with the halvings, because actually transaction rates in Bitcoin have fallen on chain.
Right.
So it's a ticking time bomb. I mean, and there has been no replacement of block rewards with transaction fees in Bitcoin. You don't see that at all going back to 2011. You see roughly the same amount of transaction fees in terms of Bitcoin. That hasn't changed. It's gone, actually, in some ways, it's actually gone down. And so the idea that transaction fees are going to replace block reward, even with the limited block size, is simply not happening. And if you look at the fee and reward of Bitcoin Cash, it's well below that of Monero. So I mean, people can look at data, blind themselves, and invest in something. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, it's a really big problem.
It's huge. And it's one of those things that people in the Bitcoin community don't want to talk about. It's way worse than the privacy thing, in my opinion, actually, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I think so too.
We will see when we get there.
Peter Todd talks about it a little bit.
Yes, Peter Todd was also a Monero Conferenco.
Yes.
I probably heard my talk. I don't know if you know what we're talking about, but I mean, but the fact of the matter is, I mean, I mean, keep in mind the original core team in Monero, before I got involved, people like Ricardo, like Fluffy Pony, for example, they were miners. I mean, if you were in 2013, and Ricardo, he was selling mining rigs. Actually, not the rigs, but the structures to actually put all the GPUs and so on to do GPU mining. So this stale emission came from the point of view of miners in the early core team of Monero, which was dominated by miners. And that's where it came from. And so they said, well, we don't think that this is going to work. So we're going to want to make sure the miners are going to get paid. Mm-hmm. And this is where this one, and the 1% number was chosen just to be below the historical inflation rate of gold. That was the idea. So you keep the Austrians happy, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, if you're below gold, you meet the standard for hard money. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know what to say, but I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's a ticking time bomb. It's been identified by a lot of critics of Bitcoin. It started from even some of the central banks. I've seen the World Bank criticize this. The question this has been criticized by a lot of people, but nobody in the cryptocurrency community wants to admit it because it's not just Bitcoin; it's everybody else, with the notable exception of Dogecoin and Monero.
Arctic, I guess the World Bank criticized what?
They were talking about this scaling problem and the fee falling. And the security issue, yes. So an article, yeah,
Yeah, and Bitcoiners' argument against that is, there's going to be block space demand in the future, and people are willing to pay high fees for that. But I mean, with so many chains out there, it's like, why would I transact on the Bitcoin chain when I can just switch to another lower fee chain, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the real hypocrisy too is that they, one of the tenets of Bitcoin is that they're security first, right? It's all about security first, maintaining the security of the network. The design decisions are based on that. And here we are with, a big question mark as to the future security of Bitcoin. So that's where I see the most hypocrisy with it. And I understand why they're stuck in that. It's because it's all about the meme of 21 million coins only.
It's huge, but it's also close to of the neighborhood of $1 trillion worth of net worth based on this meme, and based on this idea that this thing is actually decentralized, which it is not. This is why you get people like Peter Schiff, for example, criticizing Bitcoin, or Warren Buffett, and they have a point. What does it do? What is the point of this? Because if you cannot use it transactionally for peer-to-peer transactions, what exactly is the point? And what you have is, my view, is banks masquerading as cyberpunks. Basically.
Yeah, and this issue is even more important than the fungibility. Because if the coin doesn't work, what's the point of it being fungible? So I think... I
mean, there was a case of Coinbase. The Community Futures Trading Commission, they said you have to settle on chain for futures contracts and derivatives and so on. And Coinbase wrote against that in 2018, saying, if we did that, the Bitcoin blockchain would not have the capacity to handle our transaction volume alone. What that tells me is that there's this huge banking-based, ledger-based Bitcoin economy, which is happening on these centralized exchanges. But people have been led to believe that this is cyberpunk. It's not.
Good stuff, guy. I mean, we could let our.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about this. I'll be honest.
And everybody will continue to tune in. Arctic, any thoughts on what your talk is going to be based on for Monerotopia? Have you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be talking basically about a lot of the scaling changes that are happening with the hard fork. A lot of even some of the stuff that I've been mentioning here, and a lot of the fundamental issues around the scaling impacts and the falling of block rewards and so on. And sort of because the thing about understanding Monero scaling, of course, is that what it tells you about Bitcoin is actually quite scary. I mean, you design. I mean, I set out to design a way of setting the minimum fee in Monero that was decentralized, and that was my objective. I didn't set out to demonstrate the failure of Bitcoin, but that's what I ended up doing. Because in order to do that, the first, you ended up getting the second. So if you look at how Monero scaling works and how it works and how the block size, the changes that are going in the hard fork, which stabilize the fees and so on, this kind of stuff. I mean, that's a lot of what I'm going to be talking about, but it's also some of the ramifications. The other one that's interesting that I plan to be talking about also is estimates on price versus historical estimates versus block size, number of transactions, how number of transactions correlate to price. I did some of that for a virtual conference last year, and it was also as part of the research for the changes for the hard fork. And basically, most cases it's between linear and quadratic. So, like if you double the number of transactions, the price should go between doubling and 4 times. With the notable exception of Bitcoin since about 2015, 2016, where you get this massive increase in price and no corresponding increase in transactions on the blockchain, or in fact, even falling transactions. So what is happening there is that what you're not measuring is what's happening on these centralized ledgers, which is on the exchanges ledgers, and that's what's driving the price. So it's driven by this economic activity off-chain. And so you get this discrepancy, which you don't see in Monero, which you don't see in coins such as Dogecoin or Litecoin or Dash, or Bitcoin in its first 5-6 years of existence, for that matter.
So do you think that Monero's lack of rise in price could be due to not being listed on many exchanges?
Well, it's not getting that kind of, but I don't think that's the reason. I think it's been there's a major discrepancy in the market that people aren't realizing of value. I think the lack of rising price in some ways has been a lot of the FUD that's been thrown around by these chain analysis or blockchain surveillance companies. I mean, they have not being listed on exchanges has definitely been a factor, but it's just people haven't realized it.
Personally. Yeah,
that's basically what's happening, is that it's being pushed out of the scene. I mean, if you're a company that's doing blockchain surveillance, the last thing you want is Monero flipping in Bitcoin. I mean, that's the nightmare. If you're an investor in something like Chainalysis, the last thing you want to see is Monero flipping in Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like bear raid on their stock.
What a beautiful day that will be.
They will dry up their tears with money like this.
I mean, that's basically what. So they'll do everything they can to suppress the price of Monero. And I think
Arctic, you have to believe that the Monero not being on as many exchanges is having a tremendous effect on the price. No.
Yes, I do. No, I do. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it definitely has an impact. Mm-hmm. But is it sustainable? That's the question. I don't think it is on the long term, but it's definitely having a very negative impact on price. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you're making that access harder, but you're also creating this divergence with the fundamentals in the sense that you have the rising transaction rates.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, definitely keeping Monero off centralized exchanges is a way of suppressing the price. Absolutely.
All right. Well, listen, guys, we're literally at the 2-hour mark here.
It's a very short episode.
It was great. This is
awesome
amazing.
episode, yeah.
Guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. I think there is a community meeting that is happening now.
That has happened, I think.
Oh, it happened.
Oh, whoa.
Okay.
You missed
Do
it.
you know if they decided on what's going on with MoneroCon? Did they pick a date?
No, I think that was the next one.
Oh, that's the next one.
This one starts right now, from what I understand. I think
Well, I'm
I'll
going to
make
try to
that one.
jump in on that one.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much. ArticMine, always a pleasure when you grace us with your tremendous brain. Great.
Thank you.
Nik, thanks for jumping on, being jumping on stage. Please jump on anytime. Linus, thank you so much, man. Really enjoyed your report, and thanks for helping out with getting guests. Andres, always, man, pleasure having you,
Thank you.
and hope to see you in
Can I
person.
just clarify an error that I made last week
Sure.
when we announced? Yeah, because I should. The third support in Moneroujo for the onion nodes, that is already done and it's live on the beta channel. But the seed that I talked about that we were about to implement, I mixed up seeds. I was talking about the Tebador 14 words something seed that is used in Feather Wallet with when you have the block height to restore. That is not true. We are doing another seed, the offset passphrase seed that is already funded and we are working on. Is a seed that is just like the Monero seed. We didn't invent it. People asked for us to implement it. It's the usual seed that you have, but you have an extra word that is like the 26th word there that you can pick yourself. So basically acts like a password or something for your seed. You could store, I don't know, you create a wallet, you write down the 25 words of your wallet, and when you create it, you pick a 26th, and that word you don't write it down with the rest because otherwise it doesn't
Right,
serve
kind of
any
like
purpose.
pin. Okay.
You remember it, or you write it somewhere else, and when you restore it, it's its own wallet basically. So it's like it can act as a decoy wallet, or it might work as a decoy wallet. It's very useful. There's a lot of scenarios that is useful, but I know we are way above our time here. But that's the one that we are about to implement.
Very cool. Very cool.
So thank you. I'm sorry for my mistake last week. Nobody
Nobody
complained, so I don't know. But yeah, I felt like fuck.
And you still have a lot of open features that you're trying to fund right now, right? A lot of open.
Yeah, not a lot. A couple of them. I mean, the big one is the Psychic one that is super big, but the other one, I think it's support for different color themes. The other one that I really love, and it's quite smaller, that is the Pocket Change one, which is a feature that breaks up the change when you do transactions. You enable it. It gives you more UTXO. So when you want to spend again, you have to wait less time to make the following transaction.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very.
You don't have to wait for the 20,
Yeah.
or it diminishes the chance that you have to wait for the 20 minutes.
Wait, how is that working? How is that working?
Well, the devil is in the details because there are many ways to try to solve that. I mean, for example, in Feather Wallet, you can pick which UTXOs you are going to use. So you have to kind of do it manually.
Yeah.
The approach that we are going for is that you enable that, and it basically, when it creates a transaction, it will create more change for you, so to speak. It will break up the change in more chunks. So eventually, you get more and more. And what I said that the devil is in the details is because, well, I'm here next to ArcticMine. I feel like ashamed of talking about this, but you have to find like a good compromise between not creating like thousands and thousands of dust, basically, that is worth it, and that will make your transactions more expensive, but at the same time having regularly like change to spend. When you want to spend again, you have unlocked funds to do so.
Right. So you have notes or change to use for that purpose. So that's currently
that's the 10 transaction hold on the money issue.
Yes.
So you can turn around and you split it into enough output so that you can turn around and spend a coffee shop and then go to the next coffee shop and buy another cup of coffee.
Yes.
And
Or if you're at a Monero conference and you want to buy coffee and you want to have T-shirts in less than 20 minutes apart,
exactly.
You can do so. Yes, that's specifically aimed for conferences and beers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No,
So
but really, the way that people should think about it is just like in real life. At least here in real life, we still use a lot of paper cash in my country. Is that you want to break up your bills as often as possible so you can spend again and you don't run into issues. That's kind of the philosophy, and of course it's something that you will have to opt into, and the UX is still to be decided. Maybe it's just a slider which says like more or less, or based on the amount, or based on the percentage of the money that you have. So you still have to decide it, but that's the principal idea, is to figure out a way to minimize people waiting for the next transaction.
yeah, it's about the only way to get around the 10 block limit. Is basically what it is.
Yes,
it's a good feature. Don't get me wrong. It's one of these little things that you don't run around buying cups of coffee with a wad of $100 bills. I mean, that's the analogy, really.
Andres, just to be clear, that's so you guys are trying to get funding. That's one of the things you're trying to get funding for.
That funding is open. Yes, that is still open.
Okay.
People are already funded for that, but it's not fulfilled yet.
Awesome. So yeah, encourage people that are watching the show, go to Monero's page, check out which things you're trying to get funding for. I'm a big proponent of the Sidekick. Love to see that. I never got my NFT, and I gotta figure that out. Right.
You have to provide us the address.
Yes. No, I did. I sent you the address, but then I never did the MetaMask thing and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. No. I mean the address to receive the NFTs.
Yes. I will send you that. Thanks again, everybody. Thanks to Cake Wallet, as always, for sponsoring this show. Once again, we were announcing them this week. We announced them as one of the sponsors for Monerotopia too. They got the stage sponsorship, which is huge. So as always, thanks to them, they keep this show going and certainly keep the ecosystem going. And Mano, thanks again, man, for the watch. I'm wearing it. I love it.
He's very excited about it.
MoneroWatch. I don't know if this is safe to wear though in public, right? I mean, I don't know if I want to be.
You should wear it with your sweater.
I should just be all decked out in Monero gear.
I will take photos. Don't worry, people. Okay.
All right, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us. And again, don't forget to go to Monerotopia.com and purchase your ticket today. Again, it's early, but prices are going to go up. And with that being said, thank you everyone for joining us. We will see you next